Fellow Pelicans and friends of the UWI, my name is Celia Davidson Francis, and I'm the Director of Alumni Relations for the University of the West Indies. Welcome to Pelican Bytes. It's a Google Hangout where we promote interactive and positive discussion about a variety of topics and engage our UE alumni across the Caribbean and the world. Pelican Bytes is a special, shortened version of our usual Pelican Talks, which we're doing specially for the month of July as the UWI leads up to its Global Giving Week 2017 in August, next week in fact, August 1 to 7. It's my pleasure to have as our special guest today on Pelican Bytes, Mrs. Susan Belgrave. She's a 1988 Honors Law graduate of the UWI Cave Hill campus in Barbados, where she obtained her LLB, and she also won the Barbados Bar Association Prize for Top Graduating Student. She was called to the Bar of England and Wales in 1989, and she also speaks French and Spanish and has an LLM in European law with distinction from the Université Libre de Bruxelles in Belgium. Susan she's joining us today from London, England, and she has had a distinguished career in law and is currently at 7 Bedford Road Chambers, where she specializes in employment, discrimination, and human rights law. She's recommended as a leading barrister in employment law in the Legal 500. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Celia. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. I'd like to first talk about your motivation to donate to the UWI. What prompted you?
Well, I think it's quite a brilliant idea, I think, having the Global Giving Week. And I was lucky enough, because I go back to Barbados usually every Christmas, and I went and visited Professor Barito on campus, and campus has changed so much since I was there. I was quite excited to see all the developments. I went up a trip down memory lane. I went to the law faculty, and nothing had changed. And I was a bit disappointed and upset because it looked the same as it did when I was there 100 years ago. So I thought, when they announced Global Giving, I saw the dean, Dean Berry, who said he was trying to raise some funds to revamp the faculty, and I said, well, guess that he needs some help. So that was really what prompted me to donate something.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we'd like to encourage our other alumni and friends of the UE to donate whatever they can manage as well. It doesn't have to be a large amount every time. If every graduate gives just a little, collectively, we can together make a great impact. So I'm very pleased that you are motivated. I'm sure the faculty dean is very pleased as well. And I hope that other law graduates will be inspired by your story and also want to give back as well. So do you remember a little bit about your UE life, your professors, your lecturers?
It was quite an intense time because I was there as a direct entrant. So I had to do the degree in the 3-year degree in 2 years. Wow. So it was very pressurized for me. But I remember several of the lecturers, and I'm happy to say that one of them is now Chief Justice in Barbados, Marston Gibson. And another one, Andrew Burgess, is now a Lord Justice in the High Court. So it's quite interesting to see where everyone's gone to and what progress has been made.
Yes, excellent. Well, we're so happy that our graduates they do excel. And you as well have done very well. You're Barbadian British. Would you like to explain that a little bit for our listeners?
Oh, well, I think when you live here, you become quite British, I suppose. I've been here since 1992, and everyone tells me that I sound very English. That's not deliberate, but it's when you go to court. Usually when you go to court, when I started in 1992 and I said something, you would see the judge's eyebrows raised slightly, and they would not understand what you're saying. So you start to enunciate as clearly as you could, and then you get this what seems to be a very English accent. But that's the reason for it, because people weren't used to accents that weren't quite and now sometimes people tell me that I sound American here. When I'm in the Caribbean, people tell me that I sound very British, but I grew up in Barbados, and so I like to think that I belong to both places.
Yes, and we definitely claim your Caribbean heritage, so that's great. Well, as I mentioned before, the UWI Global Giving Week is coming up from August 1 to 7, and Susan is our guest as she has contributed to the UWI and is a donor who has given via Alumni Online to assist UWI's continued development. And as she has said, she was motivated by seeing the need for the Faculty of Law at the Cave Hill campus to have some improvement. So thanks again for your generous donation, Susan. And I must mention that Susan has giving in her DNA, in her blood, so to speak. Her father is Sir Elliot Belgrave, the Governor General of Barbados. He's in fact just recently retired as Governor General of Barbados. And he and his wife have recently started the Elliot and Loretta Belgrave Scholarship Trust, a charity in Barbados, which will benefit Barbadian students at UWI who are having financial challenges. And Susan is also a trustee in this charity, which is wonderful work. Susan, congrats.
Thank you, that's very exciting.
Yes, I know you went to a fundraising banquet for the charity at Government House recently.
Yes, yes.
About that and who are you going to help, etc.
Well, that was, although I'm a trustee, I did very little because my son was doing his A-level, so I just flew in, attended the dinner and left them to do all the hard work in between, before and afterwards. But the idea is to help hopefully six students a year, and I think we raised about 100,000 Barbados as a result of that dinner. And I think the scholarships will probably go on stream from next year, because I think they want to make sure they've selected the students. I think everybody who is going to go to UWI or to the Barbados Community College has already got their place. So I think they'll go through a process of selecting students for next year's entry. And the idea is to help students in certain areas, not in every area. So law is not a priority area, because everybody says we have too many lawyers in the Caribbean. Some will say we have too many lawyers in the world, but that's another matter. So they're focusing on things like accounting, environmental studies, law of the sea, areas where specialization and professionals, not areas like law and medicine where sometimes we have a proliferation of people who can't find work. So it's the idea to encourage people to do areas where there will be work and where there's a need for the society to have that particular skill.
That's excellent. Very, very good. So how was the actual function?
Oh, it was very good. As I said, I didn't organize it, so I went as a guest, although I gave a speech. But they had dancers and they had a flautist, and I think everybody enjoyed themselves. Obviously, there were a couple of hiccups along the way, but I think everything went pretty well in the end, and people were very pleased. There was a very good response from the public, so that's very good. Even people who couldn't attend because it was quite expensive made a donation, although they couldn't make it.
That's wonderful. I think that's the way it should be. I mean, if you have there is a cause that you believe in, it's wonderful that you give whatever you can, because it really helps the overall cause. Yeah. So there are other trustees as well, are there?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Sorry, are there other trustees as well?
Yes, there are 5 trustees in all. There's Sir Trevor Carmichael, who you've probably heard of from Chancery Chambers, the Senator Carol Jacobs, who I think is Jamaican background, although she's lived in Barbados for many years now, having married a Barbadian. Mm-hmm. There's Senator Estwick, and gosh, I can't remember everyone off the top of my head now. Ken Knight from the Child Care Board, Sir Paul Altman, a number of people, of trustees.
Oh, wonderful. And well, with trustees of that caliber, I know that they will guide you and make sure that the charity does very well. So yes. We're very pleased to hear about this charity that has been established to help Barbadian students by Sir Elliot and Lady Loretta Belgrave. And we look forward to hearing more and to also engendering some support worldwide. So now that you know it exists, hopefully others will give as well.
Yes, thank you.
Susan, you also have published several books and articles, I know, in your in law to do with your career, but you also do voluntary work. You're a voluntary teacher of English and French at Dayspring Saturday School for Afro-Caribbean children, and that's something that you used to do. But can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved?
Yes, that was really quite fun. I enjoyed that. It happened, well, to be honest, my husband died in 2003, and so I thought, well, I need to get out of the house before I go mad. So I tried to find something to do that was of interest, and I looked up, I think I contacted one of the charities in the area, and they said, oh, well, we've got this school, would you like to go and help out? So I ended up teaching 2 classes. One was a class of 12-year-olds, and one was a class of 14, 15-year-olds, and they were very different. The class of 12-year-olds were very enthusiastic and excited, and I taught them English, which was great, and French. And the older class were less enthusiastic. I tried to teach them English. I don't know how much I actually managed to teach them, but then the organization ran out of funding, so I did that for 2 years. But they had maybe 5 or 6 classes, and they had some younger students as well who were maybe 8 or 9. And my daughter went with me, and she used to teach the young classes. And I think the younger children liked having, the 18, 19-year-olds teaching them. They learned a bit better, but I think it was a bit of a challenge for the 18, 19-year-olds teaching the young us like that.
Well, this was a very good experience. That's wonderful. Yes. And it set the tone for doing more charity work in the future, yes. I'm sure, for her. So that's great.
Yes.
You are, I'm very happy to say, a trustee of the British Foundation of the University of the West Indies in the UK. And you have devised several initiatives which have really helped our cause as we work to raise the profile of the BFUWI and engender support from alumni and friends of the UE over there. I know that you have, for example, organized the Dr. Eric Williams panel discussions, which have discussed matters of interest to the Caribbean and its diaspora. You've organized 3 legal workshops, and you have also, in conjunction with the Ramphal Institute at King's College, organized a Sir Arthur Lewis Centenary Lecture, which was delivered by Sir Hilary Beckles, our Vice Chancellor, in November 2015. Perhaps you'd like to expand a little on that, how you got into taking the lead in these things and the overall general response.
Well, I was invited to become a trustee in 2011, 2012. And I think the idea, there are 2 ideas. One is really to raise funds for University of the West Indies. Well, that's not really my strength because I'm not a fundraiser per se, but we thought about it because at the time there were 2 of us, 2 trustees, and we're now 5. And we thought, well, what can we do that's different for the community here, because there's so many different organizations trying to raise funds. And we said, well, actually we represent an academic institution, and the one thing that unfortunately the Caribbean's not noted for in the UK is academic excellence. People always think that Caribbean students do much worse than other students, and people are lazy, all the stereotypes. So we thought, well, if we're going to do anything meaningful, we can show and remind people that actually the Caribbean is much more than music and sport. That's what they expect us to do, but we can also have a serious debate and discussion. So we decided, at the time there were 4 trustees, 3 Jamaicans and myself, and we decided to establish a series of panel discussions on topics that would be of interest to the diaspora here and of relevance to the Caribbean. And we unanimously decided to name it after Dr. Eric Williams as the foremost and preeminent Caribbean academic at the time that we were growing up, certainly in the time that we attended university. And so that's how that idea was born, and I led it, but it was a contributions from everyone who was involved. So the first one was on Caribbean oil exploration, and which is very relevant now. It was new Caribbean oil exploration. Mm-hmm. What would be the impact on the environment, on the economy, on society, and so on. And we had a number of speakers, including someone from an oil company who was extracting oil or thinking of extracting oil at the time just off of Barbados. And of course, now that Guyana has oil, it's again, its head is a topic of interest, and the idea that really people need to make sure that it's done for the benefit of the Caribbean and certainly the nationals of the country, and not simply that an oil company comes in from elsewhere, whether it's the UK, America, or Scandinavia or somewhere, drills the oil and extracts it, and you get very little ones. So we thought we needed a coordinated response, even if it may be one particular country that's got oil. It's something that can benefit the whole region, but there could also be a downside that would also have an impact on the rest of the region. So very important to make sure that it's managed and there's some collective approach to reparation. We then did one on reparations. We did one on the Caribbean economy. So we think that it's important to sort of raise issues that would keep the diaspora here interested and engaged, and also might help move the discussion along in the Caribbean. Then apart from that, we wanted to celebrate Sir Arthur Lewis. Mm-hmm. as one of our Nobel laureates. And again, not necessarily very well known as a Caribbean person. People have heard of him, but they perhaps don't make a strong enough connection. When I say people, not people in the Caribbean, people in the UK. So,
Right.
to keep raising the profile of our academics and our institutions and reiterating that we are as good as anybody else. So that's why we do lots of cultural programs, but then we also do the educational things for diaspora students here, because as I've said, they often suffer at school because either because of poverty or because of low expectations, and the fact that people sometimes get very poor career advice. So often you'll meet someone very successful like Baroness Scotland, and she will say, well, when I was at school, my career advisor said I should go and get a job in Sainsbury's. Or another famous lawyer here was told, well, she said I wanted to be a judge, and somebody told her, well, a black girl like you from South London could never become a judge. So there are these things that are said to young people at a very critical time of their development. And so we wanted to sort of step in and say, well, actually, I'm a lawyer, X is a doctor, X is an accountant, X is a mathematician at Harrow School. You know, we have people who are achievers in our community, so don't let anyone ever make you think that you can't achieve if you set your mind to it and work. And so that's why we sort of tried to do our programs in STEM with Dr. Mark Richards, who's one of our trustees, who's at Imperial College. I do the law things because that's what I know about. He does STEM. And my other colleagues, Royal Parish, is hoping to do a financial services event, again, aimed at our younger people or possibly Caribbean entrepreneurs who might want to make contact with other people from a similar background. So the idea is to get the community together in various ways, and then once they can see that the institution itself, BFEWI, is actually helpful and doing something constructive, then they might consider giving us some money. But we thought it might be difficult to ask people for money up front because the community here is not the richest in the world. And although people in the Caribbean may not realize that many people here are struggling just as badly as people in the Caribbean. So we thought if we engage them in a positive way, then that might give an impetus for some giving back to the Caribbean.
Excellent, excellent. Given us a great overview. And I think your message really is that of the importance of engaging the diaspora and engaging the second and third generations that are now living over there and giving them positive inspiration. So I think that's a very critical and key role that you are playing. So keep up the good work. We're really, really pleased with what you're doing. And as well, you mentioned that the trustees now, I think we have a fairly good representation in terms of the Caribbean, because there's yourself from Barbados. We have a couple of Jamaicans. We have Rosemary, who's from Trinidad. Is that correct?
From Guyana, actually. The country that we're missing is Trinidad. So we're desperately looking out for a Trinidadian trustee. We've got two from Guyana, Royal Paris and Rosemary Douglas, you mentioned, two from Jamaica, Elizabeth Mullins-Smith, who became a trustee the year before I did, and Dr. Mark Richards, who I mentioned, and myself. Okay,
excellent. Well, we look forward, in case there's a Trinidadian listening, you know where to go now and contact Susan and get involved.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, as I've said, the Global Giving Week is a part of the UWI Global Giving Program, which allows alumni, public and private entities, multilaterals, and friends of the UE to donate. It's very easy. You can do so 24/7 via our website. Our community is called Alumni Online, and the URL is www.uwi.edu/giving. So thank you, Susan, so much for your contribution to the UE. You have really helped make a positive impact on the lives of many students and many Caribbean people, and I know you'll continue to do so. Do you have any final words, Susan, to encourage other alumni and friends of the UE to donate?
Well, if they're in London, they can touch with us because we'll be continuing our series of events if they have any particular skills or expertise, because as I said, we're a bit limited. We have scientists and we have lawyers, and Rose works at the Commonwealth Secretariat. But if you are an engineer or someone in an entirely different field, or you've got STEM advice or financial advice you can give us, please get in touch and donate to us, either in cash or in kind, because some people can't donate in cash, but they can give us a venue or allow us to use their venue for free or something like that. I should also mention that we're probably going to be joined by another trustee, Dr. Cecily Sampson, who's also Jamaican. So we're really looking for a Trinidadian to come and join us. And I hope it goes well with global giving this week, this year. And thank you so much, Celia.
Oh, yes, my pleasure. And please, we look forward to other Caribbean nationalities as well. So if you're an Antiguan, a Dominican, a Belizean, a Montserratian, please get in touch with the BFUWI. Remember, we're our regional university. We have 4 campuses across 17 Caribbean countries. So we really invite persons to connect, because we have to keep the connection with the Caribbean and keep up the engagement. And I'd really like to thank Susan and all the other trustees at the British Foundation for the UWI in London for all the work that they do and all the activities that they've been putting on. And we look forward in 2018 to hearing more activities. So if you are in the UK visiting in the London area, please do contact them and give your support.
Thank you, Celia. I should interrupt and also mention we should say a special thanks to our administrator, Deirdre Herbert, who is actually Trinidadian. So we do have a Trinidadian connection, and she keeps us together.
That's wonderful. And yes, we do have to acknowledge Deirdre's contribution. It's very, very, very important. It keeps everybody together and makes things happen. So thank you, Deirdre. I would like to thank our facilitator, Howard Shand, this morning. He is our digital media and database manager, and he facilitates the Pelican Bytes Hangout. I do hope that everyone has enjoyed today's Pelican Byte with our distinguished UE Pelican and donor, Mrs. Susan Belgrave. We look forward to everyone joining us online next week as a global giving donor. Remember, between August 1 to 7, do join us and do donate at www.uwi.edu/giving. It's very easy, and the Global Giving Program will continue, so you don't have to just donate next week, but you can continue throughout the year. Anytime that you feel you're able to give, any donation of any size will be greatly appreciated. So thanks again, Susan, for being here, for joining us from the UK, and for everything that you've done. Take care.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you so much, Celia. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.